he was the only guy on the battlefield, and he had his sword, and he had against him an army of thousands running at him. And he stood face to face with this army by himself with his sword. And I think it's that type of attitude that he would need. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you guys are well. So this video is with regards to the third prerequisite needed for potentially taking on a second wife in a polygamous setup. And this is a masculine stance. So with a masculine stance, this is addressing specifically pushback against polygamy, right? I believe one would actually need a masculine stance to, that would involve embodying the qualities needed to lead, protect, and guide a family, especially when faced with criticism or resistance to polygamy. And this can come from a range of parties, a range of people within your life that can give you this type of pushback. I think this requires strength of character, good wisdom, and a deep understanding of Islamic principles. And what I've done in this video is, I've listed the components needed to uphold this type of stance. Look, off the bat again, I say that you need a Muslim identity, which I've discussed in the first video, the first prerequisites. I've discussed the need for a Muslim identity. And with this Muslim identity, you need this type of confidence in Islamic legitimacy in terms of the knowledge and Islamic teachings concerning Quran, Sunnah, the seerah of the Prophet. Perhaps you need to get to understand what and how the Prophet ﷺ went about things concerning polygamy. And I think you need to understand the historical context of it as well, right? A bit more so than not. Like, fair enough, you could be married to one woman and you would very well know enough about polygamy, Islamic polygamy. But especially because now you are intending to engage in polygamy, to marry on a second wife, where you would actually be implementing this in your daily life. This would be a part of your identity now. People would know you for this. I think it's a good idea to be very articulate, right? Especially around the permissibility of polygamy within today's context. And I always would refer back to this clash between Western civilization, Western ideas, Western frames of mind compared to the Islamic stances or ideas or paradigm. And I think to know the superiority of the Islamic stances over the Western ones is especially good, because people are going to come at you and say, but why did you do this? Or what is your reasons for doing this? I want to frame it in a way in which people would say, like, who do you think you are? I mean, are you this type of sheikh, this type of alim, this type of imam type person to go out and find another wife? Or is this about is this about your desires? Are you intending to be lustful in a way where you're just going out and finding more women to satisfy your sexual needs and so on and so forth? Because most people think like this. And funny enough, within the Western context, or let me put it in this way, that people will give you pushback for polygamy, but they wouldn't give you as much pushback. And this is Islamic, this is Muslim family, right? Where they wouldn't give you as much pushback for having a girlfriend, or you may be seeing a woman and perhaps you are a bit too friendly with the woman and so on and so forth, or you guys are colleagues and you went out for some work function and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned things like, if you, and I'm paraphrasing here, if it is that you touch or, if you engage with foreign women that are not akin to you, then it's as if you are touching hot coal, or the third party being the shaitan and so on and so forth, Basically, Islam is saying to stay away from women that are not your, that are not akin to you, that are not halal towards you. Yet still, even a Muslim family would still consider this normal and fine and okay. But let it be that you are, intending to move on to marry a second wife, and they'll come up with all the types of, questions and excuses and pushback with regards to it. So I think, again, moving back to the point of this idea, which is the know your stuff when it comes to these Islamic paradigms or narratives, which is then superior over the Western one. At the same time, I would say that it is important that you respond respectfully, yet firmly to objections, you know, whether from family, society, or even your first wife. And this ties back into the second prerequisite. You know, you need to do things in a way of wisdom rather than. And I would say for myself, I've again, I mentioned that I am perhaps a very strong person, a very fiery person, although perhaps it doesn't look like it on my videos. I don't know. Nonetheless, I think that, you know, if there's any type of resistance towards me, I come back with a little bit of fire, um, and especially with me being so strongly opinionated with Islam as my backing. I'm very object. I feel like I'm very objective. I mean, uh, that is a contradictory statement, but I am. I tend to be. I think I am objective in a sense where I use Islam as my basis, and whatever shapes within the Islamic frame of mind, then I tend to abide to it. And if it is that there's pushback coming to me that is not within that realm, then I tend to push back and say, "But hold on, are you?" This is now with regards to perhaps Muslim family or Muslim associates of mine or whatever that would come and, you know, come with a Western frame of mind or non-Muslim frame of mind, sorry to say, and give me the pushback. And so I tend to be a more a fiery person. Nonetheless, I think that it is better to be a little bit more calm, and come with an approach of wisdom, almost in the sense of da'wah, because at the end of the day, you are a representative of your new lifestyle. You know what I mean? You taking on this polygamous setup for yourself, and now people are looking at you. People are looking at you with a fine eye in the sense that, okay, is your fiery responses out of the fact that you're not coping with this? Is it because you are, do you feel that you're entitled to because you feel, okay, I have two wives now and I feel more quote unquote Islamic more than others. And so I have this type of emboldened attitude towards everyone else, which I think is a danger, you know, if it is that you do get things right and you do get the chance to have two wives. I think it's important to lower that type of, you know, don't brag about it. Don't think that you are above anyone else type of thing. So there's varying factors on how to respond to people when you are defending your position, all right? And I think it is one of subtlety, one of wisdom, one of fair-mindedness, meaning that you need to understand, perhaps have a little bit of compassion for people to get in the swing of things, get to your frame of mind as well. Yeah, I think it takes time as well for people to get on board with the way things are done with, or you know, and I mean, it's maybe not as easy. It's not easy to say, to do, because I mean, you going into this lifestyle full force, or you know, within your own time, and yet you rely on other people to fall in line with your timing. So I think that is one of the things you need to work out really. I think especially with family, because family are the ones who are going to perhaps be your source of support, or it could be that they could be the ones who give you the most pushback. So I think you need to find out what is the dynamic with regards to that. I think along the way, you're going to reflect on your life, and you're going to reflect on what it is that you have with your first wife, with your household, with your family, with your in-laws, you know, with your colleagues within your workplace. You know, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? And I think here is where a lot of men would succumb to their doubts. You know, they would cave into this change of lifestyle, the pushback, the criticism. You know, I mean, at least foreseeing these type of things after the fact. You know, and I think one needs to overcome those doubts. You need to stay confident in your decision. You know, it's like, okay, you're going to put your foot on the pedal and just go. You're not going to look back, push back, stop. You're going to just go and do what it is that you need to do. I think there's a sense of tawakkul, a sense of relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knowing that Allah has your back with regards to this, provided that your intentions are pure and good, then I think for the most part, you need to be confident on your decision. Remember again that polygamy is not an immoral thing. Um, I'd even say that it's not an immoral thing, even if it is that it is your desires that are swaying on things. Because if it is that it is your desires that are swaying on things and making you move to go into a polygamous setup, then it requires responsibility. And once you ensure that responsibility is done, then it's still fine, you know. Um, and I guess perhaps to the feminist ear, it wouldn't. This sounds out of this world, and I can imagine the hot-headedness that these feminists or even subtle liberal people would come with and be very up in arms against for what you're for even saying this. But again, if you know that you're going to practice polygamy justly and it aligns with Islamic principles, then you should be good, right? And you are confident that this will be you. This is going to be you. This is something that you are programmed within yourself already, even before taking on another wife. You are programmed in a way where you are responsible and you are seeing that your families are well sorted after, that you are doing things right, you know. I think that's very important. So that try to latch on to the things that you are getting right within your current setup with your first wife, with your only wife. Use that as a means of confidence. Ensure that, and you can even latch on to your first wife's response to certain things, and ask her, do you feel that my nafaka over you is good enough? Is it not that you need her approval on anything? Again, I mentioned this in my last video, the second prerequisite, your first wife's response. I mentioned something along the lines of that, but in essence, you would want to seek feedback from her in terms of that, because I think if she is Islamically inclined, and she should be honest in the way you are doing things. Of course, polygamy again can sway emotions and it can alter her type of feedback towards you, but still be confident, be strong in your approach to doing this for yourself, doing this for, I think, maybe even a bigger cause. You want to spread, you want to make the ummah bigger, you want to do family building. This is natural to men, by the way. Family building, you can use that also as a means of confidence. You want to say that I want to do family building. I want to look after more kids. I want to look after another person, being that second wife, or you want to enclose the circle of more family members, meaning more in-laws and more family on your second wife's side, and so on and so forth. You want to build relationships, let's say. So these are all things that you would want to take confidence in. I think also you would need an emotional strength, all right? Meaning that when the pushback comes, all right, or that backlash comes, and it's coming perhaps quite strongly, and it's coming in a means of maybe it's even oppressing you, right? Remember, this is not your problem, this is their problem. Whoever's giving this type of pushback, who's oppressing you, right? I think that you need an emotional strength. You need to rely on your, maybe again, tying back to the whole idea of this prerequisite, a masculine strength. You need to be in a frame of mind where even if the whole world comes challenging you, I think of I don't know if anyone of you have watched the Game of Thrones, for instance. I'm using this analogy here where I can't remember his name. What's the guy's name now? But what I remember the scene looking like was he was the only guy on the battlefield, and he had his sword, and he had against him an army of thousands running at him. And he stood face to face with this army by himself with his sword, and he went, he came charging back at them, at this army of thousands. And I think it's that type of attitude that he would need. And I think the backing towards that strength is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reliance of Islamic guidance, the reliance of the Sunnah, the Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of human beings, have done this, And even within his mission, the Prophet ﷺ mission, he himself got backlash, not for polygamy per se, but with the whole concept of Islam, he received this type of pushback. So know that perhaps this is your test, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where you are now facing all this backlash, and you need the strength. You're asking Allah for the strength, and you are taking it like a man. I mean, engaging in polygamy is I think, a masculine thing to do. You want to be a man, and you want to express your masculinity by engaging in polygamy. All right, you are that man to look after more than one family. Then I think you would need that. You would need to remind yourself that you are that man to take the backlash. Handling social stigma, I think, is, I don't know. You need to recognize societal biases and address misconceptions calmly and with dignity, as I mentioned earlier on. And I think this goes along well with your Muslim identity again, because if you have a firm sense of iman, if you have, you don't really care too much about what people think, or what people say, really, because at the end of the day, you would remind yourself, or you'd acknowledge that all they are saying is things that, are perhaps untrue, or it is outside the realm of Islam. Your objective is Islam, and you're working around things with regards to Islam. Islam is your basis, it is your circle, and when you're in that bubble, I think you are well protected, you are well, you get this type of confidence. So it doesn't matter what social stigma comes along, you would still be in a good frame of mind. As I mentioned earlier, I think you need to stay grounded in your intention to practice polygamy for, lawful and meaningful purpose, not perhaps selfish desires. Even though I said desire comes with it. I don't want to beat around the bush. Desire comes with it. You want to take on another wife because of desires and so on and so forth. But you have to integrate it with all the other aspects toward it. You want to build families. You want to tie relationships together. You want to tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment that, yes, I had more than one families because I took part in growing the ummah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he took pride in the fact that his nation is the biggest nation, and you are one who is assisting in that. I think there's great honor in that, and I think there again you can gain confidence from that. So in essence, this adopting of a masculine stance means standing firm against opposition while exemplifying justice, fairness, and leadership, with an Islamic wisdom. And by aligning your actions with, these Islamic principles and maintaining an emotional and intellectual composure. I think composure is a good word in the sense that you need to be composed in certain respects. And I mean, sometimes you lose it, sometimes you don't. Depending on the scenario and depending on who is coming to you with whatever pushback, or, I mean, obviously, if it's close family that you would take more heart to, then perhaps you would be more emotional. Nevertheless, try to be as composed as possible. I think you can navigate this pushback with strength and grace, and of course, always know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has your back, and rely on Him for not only polygamy but on anything and everything, as we should know. And I think this concludes this video. So in my next video, I would be discussing the fourth prerequisite, which is the finances. I know a lot of the brothers this is probably one of the main concerns. Like, I mean, you need to have a certain know-how with finances, and perhaps you'd want to ensure that your finances are on a good level. I have varying views on that, but nonetheless, that's for the next topic, the next video. So yes, please stick around for that. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. I know there's quite a few of you who are watching the videos, but are watching my videos, but are not subscribed. So please subscribe. And if you have any thoughts, please submit a comment below. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.